Did you double check to make sure our slides should be appropriate? Some of them I don't think it's all right.
One of my two votes. Are you a certified person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the clicker is in the tripod bag.
Like scan it in a million cases. Because you got frustrated with it, it's okay. You can tell me.
No, I think it's in the tripod bag.
If I get it. Everyone.
Yep.
Very good. Thank everyone for being here. I hope, everyone is, free of COVID, COVID, symptoms, and, if you feel like you want to mask up, go ahead and mask up, but, happy to have everyone here in person. Arlington, Democrats is an open and welcoming committee. So happy to have everyone here. Next slide. We got a pretty short agenda. Yesterday, we had a big day yesterday. A lot of people were out there doing a lot of work, and so we're gonna kind of talk through that some, and gonna have our candidates come up and talk, and get some remarks from anyone who wants to speak on the events of yesterday. Next slide. How many people are new to a meeting of the Arlington County Democratic Committee? Please raise your hand. Everyone being here. We're an all-volunteer organization. Yesterday, I think we deployed over 1,000 volunteers. We need people exactly like you. All the many things we do after election season. So thanks for joining us today. We've got a sign-up sheet in the back. If you haven't already signed it, please be sure to do so. And please be sure to introduce yourself to a couple of the members before you get out of here. Because we do a lot of great work and have a lot of fun throughout the year. Would love to have you be a part of that. Next slide. This coming Saturday is our second Saturday breakfast. As you all know, Veterans Day is coming up. And we are excited to be joined by Jacob Herrard. He was a member of our coordinated campaign this year, retired Marine. Really great guy. He's going to come and speak to us at the breakfast. It's at Busboys and Poets. I think we start at 9:30 every second Saturday. So come on out and honor our veterans. Yeah, we'll give a little bit of a election update. Next. Next. Don't concede the fight. We can't throw up our hands. We need to roll up our sleeves. And as the Vice President said earlier today, light of America's promise will always burn bright as long as we never give up and as long as we keep fighting. So, and that's what Arlington Democrats do best. Please give yourselves a big round of applause. And we'll go through a couple of the requisite slides on the election. Next. This is where we were back in October. These were the states that were considered in play. Next slide. And this is kind of where we ended up in the president's race. This is from about an hour ago, so if things have changed, forgive me. There's still a couple states out there. Next slide. And the House. Similarly, there's a number of races that are still in play. We had a great decent day in Virginia. Eugene Benjamin held the 7th. Supermanian, home of the 10th district. We did not take back the second, but get another bite at that apple. So we're not giving up there. Next slide. And in Arlington, we did really well. Arlington did the job that it needed to do, that it does every year. And I was very excited to see that. Now, these are some preliminary numbers. The 2020 vote count was 130,000 votes, 80% went for Biden. This year, as of this morning, it was reported 122,000. I don't know if that includes provisionals meeting this afternoon. I think there was at least a few thousand of those. So the 2024 number is likely to climb. So slightly lower total voter turnout over 2020, but not by much. And I think given that, you know, our candidate was part of the incumbent group, that's a remarkable feat. And the turnout, Democratic turnout for Harris was nearly so that big success for our candidates in that regard. Thank you. Everywhere else on the ballot we won. So we're very happy to see that, and we'll hear from our candidates in a little bit tonight. Julius J.D. Spink Sr. Won his county board race, and J.D. is very JD, sorry if I'm stealing any of your thunder here. This was the first implementation of ranked choice voting in a general election. You know, we didn't know exactly how that was going to play out, but JD won in the first round. So really excited. And our two terrific school board candidates were both elected. We're really excited about that. Number of candidates out there, you know, so it was a crowded ballot, and I just, it's a testament to the strength of the Arlington Democrat sample ballot and the materials that we provide to voters throughout the election season, and our terrific candidates, of course, that really helped them win this race. So that's where we ended up in Arlington. I know that my deputy chair, our deputy chair, Paul Ruiz, would like to say a few things. So I'm going to invite Paul up to speak.
And you know, I don't have prepared remarks, but I have some observations. As we walk into this meeting tonight, I see people hugging each other. I see you checking in with each other. How are you? I see you patting each other on the back. I see you taking those moments to observe each other. And that's exactly where we have to be right now. Earlier this year, you know that I, as I came into this role, 2 days before, I had lost my mother in a sudden way. And that felt, I felt deep grief and loss in that. Oddly, having experienced that, this isn't so bad. But I know, but I know But I know when I recognize the feelings, I'm from the same place. Everybody here put in a lot of time and energy, and we had so much optimism and hope for what Kamala Harris's candidacy represented to us. Her, we saw joy, optimism. Really, we hope to be a better future for our country. Instead, many of us woke up this morning feeling scared, anxious. And I just want you to pause for a moment and recognize that that feeling is normal. Many of you are going to go through those stages of grief. Because we're grieving the loss of what we had hoped would be the future of this country. Just recognize that and continue checking in with each other. What we have here in Arlington Democrats is a community. This community helped me through my personal loss. And I really want you to lean into that community for yourselves. I'm so glad to the first time attendees who are here tonight. Thank you for coming out. We hope that what you find the need to mobilize and get together and change the world. We're not all going to be there today. But when you get back up on your feet and you're ready to fight with us, we hope that you stick here with us, that you're back in these meetings, and that you're here to win our governorship next year. If we're knocking on doors and making calls, we might not have the strength for that right now, but I swear to you, it will come back.
Thank you, Paul. And I probably should have started with a little bit of that myself. I do want to just say, and we had our lunch earlier today, and I made some remarks there, and I know I sent out an email a little bit earlier as well to our committee members and all our precinct captains. If you're a precinct captain, please raise your hand. Precinct captains do the backbone work of this committee and organize their neighborhoods and organize the voters in our community, and we cannot thank them enough. So I do want to say, and to everyone else on the committee and to anyone who volunteered for our candidates or for this committee, because I know we had over 1,000 people out there yesterday. Thank you so much for everything that you did in this election. It is an honor to know such a great group of people and to be able to work with such a great group of people each and every day. And I'm so proud every day to be a part of this organization. I just cannot say thank you enough. So again, just thank you for everything you did yesterday. And I know we're going to have a great year next year. We did have some winners yesterday, and I don't want to deter them from coming up and saying a few words. So I think we're going to start with our, I think we have a surrogate for one of our school board winners. Tony, you want to kick things off? Is Tony with us? There he is right there. Tony, get us started.
Good evening. I'm not Soraya Tapia Hadley. But I am representing our campaign today. Our campaign manager and Soraya, unfortunately, is away. She is on work, so she is somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean as we speak, on the way to Spain. She'll be gone for a 3-day work trip. So basically, jumping right on a return plane back. But she did want me to convey the enormous gratitude that she feels for everybody in this room, all of the Arlington Democrats, everybody on the campaign who just worked so incredibly hard over the last months, weeks and months to get her elected and to get JD as well as Kathleen elected. The tireless work of the precinct captains, area chairs, all the volunteers, the phone calls, putting out flyers, putting out the messenger. Those are all the things that just make it happen. And the county committee just makes it look easy. And it's a tremendous effort, as we know, from the 1,100 odd folks who were organized and put out on election day. That work is what makes it happen. That work just has to continue to happen now and going forward, because we have so much at stake. And she wanted to convey the general sentiment that the victory, though it's joyous for us, it's a huge win, but it's also bittersweet considering the circumstances nationally that we face. So wanted to convey that. Wanted also to mention some of the highlights that of her candidacy, in that she will be the first Mexican American woman to serve on the school board here, and I believe the first Mexican American to serve elected office in the Commonwealth. I believe that's the case, but I'll check that one. So that's certainly something that we have to celebrate, and so in sum, to finish up, big thank you to Arlington Dems, huge thank you to all the volunteers who just worked so tirelessly to make this election a success for us. Big thank you to Andrew Etheridge, Deputy Campaign Manager, and all the folks who worked on the campaign. We will continue to rebuild, and we will certainly do well come next year for the election for the governor. That is what we gotta be thinking about, we gotta be focused on, we be lasered in on, and we've got all the great people out here to do it, and I know we're gonna do it. So thank you so much, and just want to convey our enormous amount of gratitude for all of the help. Thank you.
Right. Welcome up, school board elect member Kathleen Clark.
Sorry, I'm gonna make JD come up too. So, part of the reason I'm standing here is because of him. Because, you know, the day before the caucus, he called to check in on me and made sure I was okay. And that's just the kind of person he is, and the kind of campaign that I wanted to run, and that, the kind of leader I am, is you make sure people are okay. I so appreciate running with Soraya and with JD, because we checked on each other this whole time to make sure we're okay. But now I'm looking at this wonderful audience here that has put forward so much effort. And I just want to make sure you guys are all okay. And I know it's gonna be really hard. I know we're not okay, right? We're not okay. So we gotta think about what's forward.
I'm not gonna take it anymore.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? We can't change today, but we can change going forward.
Right.
And we have an APS, the next brightest generation of leaders coming forward. 28,000 students. So what are we gonna do for those 28,000 students to drive the change that we want to see in this world? So my ask here tonight is not about today, it's about tomorrow. And I alluded to this earlier. Have conversations with people that are hard and find out why they think differently. Because we are in a bubble here in Arlington, and we keep seeing that election after election. We feel this way, we know it to be right, but it's not coming through across the rest of the country. And we have to think about why that is. Education, specifically public education, is part of that. We have to have,
Politics,
pardon?
money in politics.
Money in politics has some of it to do too, but I won with the third lowest in the campaign funds. I ran after taking it. And it's about connection and relationships. So build relationships with people that think differently with you, because it will help our future. And my ask is, each of you, we have the biggest budget deficit coming up that we have faced in a really long time for our schools. And it is gonna take a lot. I've had parents reach out to me today because they have children that are transgendered and are concerned. I've had community members reach out and say, Kathleen, we have immigrant populations that are scared to go to school. Okay, we have to do something about that. We have kids that are gonna be in mental health crisis for a long time, and they're scared, and they have a right to be scared. So we, as leaders in this community, this wonderful Arlington Debs community, my ask is to find ways that we can volunteer to help spearhead this change for the next 28,000 students that are gonna be leaders in this country. Please, 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 the ask of the community now, and Mary Federa, our wonderful chair, is here tonight. We need you to come into our schools and help lead those leaders. Help support the mental health initiatives, help support the literacy initiatives, so our children are graduating, being able to read. That is my ask. Thank you all so much. I'm gonna turn it over to
I don't know if anyone wants to speak.
You know, it's really-
Yeah, I love you too. Look, folks, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Very good.
So I stand before you in pain. I stand before you because I know not, even outside of Arlington, where the future may be in our great nation. A nation that I have worn the cloth of and raised my hand to support and defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And last night and early this morning, as I thought about my life growing up in South Carolina, very red country. Some of the things that you may be experiencing, I've been experiencing all my life. The hope, and then people not coming through. Desperation, uncertainty, hate, bigotry. I've seen it all my life. And I'm hurting for our nation. I'm hurting for Arlington. I'm hurting for our immigrant population. I'm hurting for everyone, our women. My 3.5-year-old granddaughter. Because I know not what the future may be. But one thing I do know is that here in Arlington, hate has no place here.
Right.
When I was young, elect to the county board, I pledge to you that I will fight tirelessly to rid hate, discrimination, bigotry from our community, so we can all live and thrive and live a prosperous life here in Arlington. 62,772 people decided yesterday that I was going to get the first place vote. But I know that that did not happen just because my name is JD. Because there was another JD on the ballot. It happened because I've lived a life of service. Not only to this nation, but also to Arlington. Many of you don't know, but many moons ago, when I first came to Arlington, I started out as a precinct captain.
giving out messages. My area chair right there. Hey, dropping off some messengers. And I will tell you, even back then, when I would knock on some of the doors, listen to where I'm going with the messenger. But as a black man in Arlington, people would give me a unique look. And I had to explain to them, I'm a Democrat. But there was a level of uncertainty of a black man knocking on the door. I felt that as a precinct captain. But that didn't disturb me from continuing to work hard for this party, a party that lifts people up and leaves no one behind. A party that is going to make sure that the rights and privileges that we've earned over time will be upheld and we can continue to prosper. But I'm here to tell you folks, Kathleen said it best. Let's not get comfortable in this bubble called Arlington. I spoke to my mother down in South Carolina this morning. I have family out in Texas. There's a reason certain people voted for Donald Trump. And if we can't find ways to compromise in the community, something I've talked about, finding that sweet spot as a Democrat and whoever, in order to shape good policies, we're going to be in peril. We got to learn the art of compromise as a community. Because I can't have it my way just because I'm JD. We got to work together in unity. Working together in unity and build bridges. And I submit to you that I will do that alone. Good to see the Vice Chair of the County Board, Takis Karantonis here. I look forward to working with you and everyone else on the board, sir. But we have a lot of work to do. I also look forward to making sure we have our own trifecta next year in the governor's mansion. Make sure we got them right there. I'm gonna work hard to make sure that happens. Well, as I leave you, there's two things I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna first let you know that will lead with empathy and understanding, and I will be a listener. Whether it's the north side of Arlington, central side, renters, seniors, people that just got here last year, west, doesn't matter. I'm gonna speak and I'm gonna listen to folks because they need to be heard. They're asking to be heard. And I'm hopeful we're gonna take their messages to the county board to make sure we shape the policy so we leave no one behind. You've heard me talk about public safety, we'll address those concerns. You heard me talk about environmental sustainability, we're gonna address those concerns as well. Public health and mental health and behavioral health are issues that are near and dear to my heart. 1 in 4 people are suffering from mental illness, so we need to make sure we have mechanisms in place to help them. And lastly, I'll just say this. We're gonna work to make sure we have attainable housing and diversify housing across Arlington, then make sure that we can meet people at every stage of their life, that seniors can stay here, that our renters don't get priced out and people can buy. I think we can walk and chew gum here in Arlington. We're the second highest educated community in America. If you tell me we cannot do that, I'm not buying. We can do anything we want in Arlington. We took that on our mind with it. So what I want you to do as I leave, Scott McCaffrey, it's good to see you again. I want you to look to your neighbor, to your left, to your right. Doesn't matter which one it is. I want you to say just one thing. We are one Arlington. We are one Arlington. Thank you, Arlington County Democrats. Thank you, Sarah Lambert. All everything, hard work. Let's not be discouraged. Let's stand up. Let's fight hard. Let's get ready for 2025. Because when we fight, we win. When we fight, God bless you. Let's go.
JD Spain, everybody, congratulations. So I didn't mention how many volunteers we had on election day.
we had an awful lot of volunteers before election day too. How many people early voted, poll greeted, and, that's a lot of people. Bob, you were an organizer, I know, is Detta here, a lot of people have. Carol. And, Paula Phoebe organized each and every one of them. Paula, why don't you stand up? Almost 75,000 people voted before election day. Some of those by mail, but a lot of people showed up in person, and Paula Phoebe organized each and every one of those volunteers. So we're really grateful, Paula, for all that you did. I also didn't introduce our electeds at the beginning of the meeting, so I'm going to take a second and just do that. I see we've got clerk of the court and recent joint campaign co-chair, Paul Ferguson, with us today. Paul. And I didn't scan the room. Let's see who else. Who else? School board member Mary Kadar is with us today. I did see Falcons Tony somewhere with us. There he is. Falcons, welcome. Am I missing anybody? All right, we've got our 8th district chair, Margot Horner, with us today too. Next slide. So now we're going to hear from just some of the functional areas of our committee. One of them that we put together every year is our joint campaign co-chairs. And for that, I'm going to welcome, bring up all of our co-chairs. Amanda Molina, Austin Locke, and Paul Ferguson, come on up.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Amanda Molina, one of the 3 co-chairs for the joint campaign. As I'm sure you all saw, a bunch of emails come out about different events. We started joint campaign around June. I think I saw the emails, so between June and now, Golden Gala, supporting all of our different local candidates, all the way up to helping build sample ballots. I have to say special thanks to Austin, who helped build a lot of the items that you see there. So we definitely run events. Even I'm a reservist, so doing my reserve duty, he supported making sure that I was aware, ready for chili cook-off was another event that you all. I just wanted to say that throughout this event, I'm fairly new to Arlington. Moved here a couple of years ago, and this was a way for me to get to know the community and getting involved with these great fellow Democrats as well. But as the burden of our democracy is pretty heavy on us tonight, I just wanted to add to what everyone's been saying, that the light of our resolve and the power of our resolve, I believe, is unmatched and unrelenting. And just from the turnout that we got, wasn't just, even though we might have had a loss at the national level, we had great wins at the local level and at the state level. So just wanted to say it's not a total loss. And we had over 150 gold cards. We have record events for all of our attendance, our 4 major events, and just over 200,000 voter touches between us, Sarah Blanford, our communications director. We were working closely with the steering committee. We had really great efforts, and I implore you all to volunteer in this role next year. Because it's a really great opportunity to get to know the community even more.
Paul Ferguson. I said at lunch today, it's an honor as an elected official to get to be one of the joint campaign chairs. We have a tradition every year that we have 2 of our most talented, rising star leaders as the joint campaign chairs, and then an elected official that doesn't do a lot of the work. But I did attend all the Sunday campaign meetings, and I did help with organizing some things. But it was a chance for me to observe how strong we are as a local party in Arlington. The last time I was a joint campaign chair was 2014, and that was a tough year for us. The joint campaign chairs were myself and Steve Baker, and our chair was Kit Malinowski then, and we, of course, lost our local race then, for county board. So, I mean, we never take it for granted that we're going to win these local races. And, despite the disappointment that we're feeling at losing the presidential race, we have a lot to celebrate with our great new county board member, J.D. Spain, and our two new school board members, Soraya and Kathleen. It's also an opportunity to observe all the people that are doing the hard work in the party. And I can't name all of you, but it was amazing that the early, the voting was always people staffing, at Long Bridge, and at the courthouse and at Walter Reed, every time you went by there. Yeah. And Madison was later, right? That was the first one. Madison and Walter Reed, but thanks, Paul, for reminding me about that. The fundraising that was done, Tony Weaver did an outstanding job. Every time you see this guy, he was trying to hitch up for money, and he never missed an opportunity. And he never missed an opportunity to ask all of us to assist him making, dial calls from his cell phone. He has a great automated operation. Sarah Florence, she was over there. She, just cranking out the communication from me. Austin and I, we were always like, well, could we do this? Could we get another email out? She's like, well, not too many emails, and she had to draft and write them all. So we appreciated her hard work there. And of course, the precinct ops, Sarah's already mentioned, Sarah Lanford and Tony Striner, who assists you. Everybody that runs the precinct really came through in a major way this year. And then last but not least, need to mention Austin, Austin Locke is one of our most talented people here in the Democratic Party. He really ran our meetings, he organized the data, he helped with the literature. Amanda has a lot of technology expertise, so she assisted with that. But Austin was a real workhorse for us, and I know your skills are going to be valued in future campaigns for Arlington. So thanks for letting me say that the state of the Arlington Democratic Party is excellent. I should have mentioned Howard here, who helps us during the day quite a bit still, correct, Howard? You're sort of our executive director still?
Still sort of.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, that's a difference. In 2014, we didn't have that. So on that level of organization and the level of money that's been raised by this party over the years leads me to believe it's unlikely we're ever going to lose the local race in the future, but we won't take it for granted. We'll keep working hard to make sure that doesn't happen. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you all. All right, let's see. I'm gonna welcome up Sarah Lanford.
Hey, hello, everyone. I did prepare remarks, because I have a lot to say, so bear with me. First, thank you so much for everything everyone did yesterday. You know, we did not obviously get the results we wanted at the top of the ticket, but Arlington had a phenomenal day, and I don't want us to lose sight of that, because it was truly spectacular what we were able to accomplish collectively, and I'm so proud of that. I wish I could sit with that more, but unfortunately that's where we are. But we had just under 800 poll readers out yesterday, which is incredible. We had 14 circuit riders who were up from 4:30, and their days ended around 9. They were driving between precincts all day, checking in on our amazing volunteers. And they were led by a wonderful, wonderful man named Eric Wolf, who I don't think is here, but yes. I also want to thank the members of our illustrious hole filling team. This is a group of people who fill any gaps that we have when the precinct captain's poll reader schedules are due, and they worked just around the clock to get that done, to where we could have 800 people out yesterday. So I'd love a big round of applause for Betsy Lyon, Susan Cato, and Mary Beth. And of course, the love of my life, Fran Jackson. Hi. Oh, you know, words, kind things to say about Fran. She's just the most wonderful teammate and partner we could have asked for. And she's just become a lovely friend. So I'm really grateful for Fran. And I've heard my name mentioned a lot, but we have 126 precinct captains without whom none of this would be possible. And we organize starting in December of the year before. And that is why, like Paul said, we can do everything so well, because we have people who are doing this work when it's not in use. They are working year round, starting December, January, so that we can have a smooth day on election day. So I know everyone raised their hands, pretty much everyone raised their hands, and because they're precinct captains. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you, thank you, thank you. Big round of applause for the precinct captains. I want to provide just two quick examples of something things I think went really well yesterday. One of them was that we had circuit riders going around and they noticed that there were just not extremely long lines, but some long lines at Wakefield precinct, and that it looked like there were a lot of Spanish speaking voters who were trying to same day register, and we were able to call Gretchen's office and say, hey, you might want to dispatch another elections official here, and we got another worker there within about 20 minutes, which is incredible. And we were actively encouraged by the people. We also were able to get a blind voter who had been given the wrong polling location from the wrong polling location across the county to her correct polling location within 15 minutes, thanks to the folks at Rides to the Polls, which is just incredible. So I mean, we had a lot of instances of things going really well yesterday, but I wanted to highlight those two because it shows just how much, we have such a strong relationship with our election officers who are fantastic in Arlington. A huge round of applause for the wonderful election team. They are always, it is their way they operate is that they want to make sure everyone who is able to and wants to can vote, which I know not a lot of places in the country are like that, unfortunately. So it's good that that's kind of their starting mindset, and we work really closely with them on that. Just on a personal note, President Trump was elected when I was 20 and a senior in college, and I moved to Arlington pretty much right after that. I moved here a few days before he was inaugurated in 2017, and it took me about a year, but after a year of suffering through that, I thought I really need to get involved because this energy is not helping, and I need to organize and not agonize. And I've just been blown away by this community. I think I have the same experience that Paul had. Of just finding some real true friends, people who I never would have expected to become friends with. And it's been a great way for me to just, stay involved, stay engaged, and really feel like I'm an active member of the Arlington community. So, as Paul mentioned, I think we should grieve together, support each other through this time. We have a long hopefully it's only 2 years ahead of us before we can make some ground in the midterms. But let's really lean on each other while we regroup and refocus. And if you're feeling like you just want to give up, I totally relate to that. But I think that's what some people would want us to do, right? So take the time you need and just know that when you're ready to get back involved, we will be here because we have been here. We will continue to be here. We will continue organizing year round. No one is going to stop us from doing that. So, I was radicalized in 2017, you could say, and I will say, Let This Radicalize You. That is actually one of my favorite political organizing books, a book called Let This Radicalize You. In that book, they say that grief is the opposite of indifference. We wouldn't be sitting here in this room crying and grieving together if we didn't care so much about our future and the people who live in this community. This book says that hope and grief can coexist, and if we wish to transition the world, we must learn to hold both simultaneously. I look forward to doing that with you all together. If you want to become a precinct captain, this is what I'm wearing. Come see me after the meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sarah. Everyone should be a precinct captain. Let's welcome up voter support, Paula, or got anything? Want to say a couple words? Come on. You got a slide. Next.
Well, there you go. I'm not really voter support, I'm just through voting poll reading, and I do want to thank all of you in this room and so many more outside the room. There's an organization called We Have Action in Arlington, and I think we got a huge number of volunteers through them, so just keep them in mind and thank them too. I know there were I know that Rights to Polls is also under this, and I know they were working hard and doing a great job. I don't actually know everything that falls under voter support, so I just want to thank those of you who helped me get the early voting done.
Thank you, Paula. Let's see. And now let's bring up Zach Lennox. Come on up, Zach. Give us your report.
I don't have much else to add beyond what everyone else has said. But what I can say is I've never seen such effort be put into a single race. So I can safely, confidently say we did not leave anything on the table. So that's what hopefully will allow me to sleep tonight. Just want to thank the entire outreach team, Brian Coleman, my vice chair, Vivian and Rob, and Colleen for all the amazing work, as well as all of our caucus chairs. We registered over 200 voters in over 40 events from April to Sunday. So thank you so much for all your efforts. Thank you to all the volunteers who joined us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Valerie. All right, let's see, where are we going? Arlington Young Democrats.
Dude.
Apologize. I'm being shot like Charles for this and still. Read the statement. Try to get through as quickly as you can. If not, we'll be publishing on our socials. So I know that, like me, many of you feel both heartbroken and defeated today. But even in the darkness, there's still light. You know, we're sending SNL's Tim Scott, Tim Kaine back to the Senate. And thank you, the help of everyone in this room. What we had, I know election day, we had what, 1,100 supporters. I'm not sure how many people we had canvassing, but you know, I've been in Arlington for 4 years. I have never seen this before. And you know, we were able to get our Arlington Democrats elected. You know, I helped the school board endorsement vote this year, and you know, we have 4 candidates, and all of them truly cared about this county and each other, and really to support themselves. We're going to bring their heart and soul to the school board. And you know, JD, you know, he has dedicated every waking moment he has entered Arlington County to make it better. And I really saw that, and he was NWC president, and you know, that's what inspired me and kept me going, especially in 2020. And then Soraya Tapia Hadley or Kathleen Clark, thank you as well. So while we knew from the beginning that the presidential race would be a coin flip, we presented our best candidate, given our situation, Kamala, who ran one of the most robust ground operations I've ever seen.
They had 170 people in Johnsontown, Pennsylvania, one of the reddest areas in Pennsylvania. We knocked on probably around 8,000 doors in one day, one time. So, they wrote out in Patently False. Her campaign exemplified compassion and empathy that is the core of our democratic values and who we are as a party. But unfortunately, the American people decided to go a different route. This election was not a total rejection of the ideals of the Democrats, as many states across the country, including in Missouri, that approved an abortion rights ballot initiative.
Wisconsin state legislature change.
Voted on
Picked up the numbers, so, look for the glimmers of hope.
Whole democracy, economy, those were the top things. Voters just, want a better economy. I understand that, we understand that, and we're gonna work hard to get that messaging right and our actions right over the next 2 years to show them that we're prepared and ready to do that. And then, now that we have the clue of the message, let's look forward. As we know, we are still purple Commonwealth, but our path is still bright. With Stu Haas Supermani's election, there's a special election in this 32nd Senate district. So we're not done yet. We'll have probably, 2 months, a month before we get, whenever they release the call for election, to take the time to rest up, reflect on your experiences. What more can you talk to voters? What more can you talk to your neighbors? Practice, think of different messagings, because we gotta go back and show the Republicans that we're gonna come out swinging and ready to go. And also this will help prepare us to make history for Virginia next year, and hopefully put Abigail Spanberger, the first woman governor in Virginia. I know this was a lot of process, but I hope it provides light for our future. The Arlington Dems, we're not going anywhere. We'll continue to advocate for progress at all levels, engage in self-reflection to enhance our messaging for not only Arlingtonians and Virginians, for all Americans. Because some of us could have been staying in North Carolina, so we want to make sure we're prepared for them. We'll also push our Democratic majorities to take full advantage of their powers and make the bold actions needed to show that Democrats mean business and we are ready to fight for the American people. So, what does that look like for us next year? AYD recently concluded our e-board application. We have uncontested seats, so our leadership team are gonna probably take a 2-week break and then get back to work. But however, as president, our guiding principles will be empathy, community, and education. Please take care of yourself this week, or month or more, and then we'll get back to work. We can do this, we will do this, and we'll do this together.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Arlington Young Democrats. All right, now. Next slide. Want to welcome up our Beyond Arlington Chair, Ken Malinowski. Can you tell us all the main things that you
Thank you all. Being a man from the Midwest, it's hard to admit that I have feelings.
But they do exist, but I'm gonna say with more and more comfortable around first, and just give you just, I do wanna just make sure everyone knows, just a little bit of what we did, because I don't pretend to have it all, and my numbers might not even be right, because I haven't slept much, period. We sent 8 buses, to Pennsylvania and North Carolina, we were the only buses going from Virginia, full of volunteers knocking doors in Pennsylvania, so. We've sent more than 150 people carpooling, and that mainly goes to Josh Kapowitz, who did some phenomenal organizing there. And another Arlington Democrats old timer, Jonathan Morgenstein, organized a separate 45 people to go canvass in Pennsylvania too, so. Sarah and I opened up our home to start phone banking in December of 2023 for Thomas Swazi. We won that race in February. We switched and made calls for county to county. Again, we've heard a lot of bad things about, we know a lot of bad things about what happened last night. But one of the things that did happen in North Carolina that was good is Dante Pittman, one of the first candidates we called for, he won his state delegate race, breaking a Republican majority. And so I want to say that, yeah, we were part of a phenomenal effort. If everyone who made some calls, everyone who knocked some doors, everyone who sent some texts, you were part of a groundbreaking effort that even exceeded what Barack Obama's campaign did in 2008 for contacting voters, according to Pew Research. So that is some amazing stuff. But I want to address the real elephant in the room and where we go from here. So feelings. So, and I wrote it down. I went old school, paper and pen, because our older millennials will use these. So here we go. It's a devastating result, absolutely devastating. For every issue, abortion, climate, guns, it is all like, So, tears, rage, despair. I've experienced all of those in the last 24 hours. And I'm already kind of coming out the other side, but if you're feeling that right now, if you're feeling that anger, if you're feeling like, forget it, I want to walk away. If you're feeling like, I want to give up, I hear you. I hear exactly what you're saying, and I feel that, and I have felt that. But what I'm going to ask is that I don't want to question the validity of those feelings for one moment, because they're 100% valid. It is absolutely valid to feel absolutely horrified at what just happened. But that is not where we stop. So I do want to pause before we get to where we go. I want to just take a moment to address what I think happened. And again, everything I'm going to say is very preliminary because we get so little to look at. But there's an article by John Sides, a great political scientist, who's looking just at the fundamentals. You just look at Biden's approval rating and the polls, and you can graph out presidential approval rating and presidential result. This is actually right down the middle of the statistic, like it's right what you would expect for a president polling at 40% of the same party with his vice presidential nominee. So the question though is why? Why did with Joe Biden passing the Inflation Reduction Act, passing the CHIPS Act, passing the Cures Act, passing the PACT Act, doing so much more than any of the presidents since Lyndon Johnson in such a short period of time, why didn't it resonate? And I think we teach at my school, we teach our kids to put our learning in a global context. Let's look not just here, but let's look around the world what's happening. And the fact of the matter is, parties across the world, if you are in power, if you are a party in power, chances are you have lost your most recent election. Almost all of them have been defeated. Again and again and again. There is a great pandemic hangover. People are pissed and they are kicking out incumbents. So there is that. That is part of the background noise that is going on here. And so I think we cannot divide that. The other thing that we need to look at is the information environment. And I saw it today with the middle schoolers and looking at TikTok and looking at videos. The information environment is terrible. The news, it used to be that one outrageous senator from Wisconsin, Joe McCarthy, could go on TV, behave like an ass, and one secretary of the army, one lawyer from the secretary of the army saying, "Sir, have you no sense of decency?" and that being the end of his career. Donald Trump has been convicted of 34 felonies, and it is not the end of his career. Why is this happening? Because we don't have 3 news channels anymore. We have hundreds of channels, we have millions of TikTok videos, we have all kinds of different information. Our information system is broken. And the New York Times, the Washington Post, the vaunted liberal media are scared of being perceived as too liberal, and so they often criticize Democrats just as much or more than they criticize Republicans. And so the centrist media often is attacking Democrats. People on the left are attacking Democrats for not being left enough. And people on the right, of course, are attacking Democrats. So the question becomes, who's standing up for Democrats? And my answer is that we have to stand up to it, but we have to, the long-term project here is building some of our own media. What the great folks at Pod Save America, Proven Media are doing, that stuff is really, really important. But I do think we have to, when we say, how could this happen? Ask yourself where people got the news from. One of the calls I made in North Carolina, someone said, well, I was gonna support Kamala Harris, but she only wants to give people $725 who had their houses burned. I'm like, no, that's not true. That's false. And she's like, no, and hung up. And I'm just left aghast, and we were awash in disinformation. Some of it coming from Russia, some of it coming from China, some of it like there is in very real ways, an attack on our American information system. And there's no easy solution to this. There's no flip the channel and that'll solve it. So what I'm saying here is that we do have to think about where people get their media from. So that is a big, big piece of it. And a final piece that I see right now, and again, I don't pretend that this is comprehensive. I just want to make sure that we think about these things. It's something I see with my students a lot, and that's loneliness. And that's a strange thing to say, but loneliness, a sense of isolation, leads people to seek out strongmen. And a scholar, Hannah Arendt, The Origins of Totalitarianism, she put it this way: totalitarianism bases itself on loneliness, on the experience of not belonging to the world, not belonging to the world at all, which is among the most radical and desperate experiences a person can feel. That loneliness is pervasive. Our Surgeon General, Vivek Murthy, has written a whole book about loneliness, how pervasive it is. So this is a huge, huge problem that doesn't get talked about often, but I suggest to you that that is something that is out there that we're facing. So when we look at all this, that's something that I think we really need to keep in mind. And I've never done this before, but I do think it is really important to think about the wisdom of the serenity prayer. That serenity prayer about God, give me the grace to accept the serenity, those things that I cannot change. Grant me the courage to change that which I can, and grant me the wisdom to know the difference. I think that is really profound in a political context, because I think Kamala Harris ran a fantastic campaign. Yeah. Sometimes the best you can give is not good enough. Sometimes the winds are just too damn strong. And I do think that's what happened here. I think she really ran a great campaign. Hats off to her, to her team, to Doug Emhoff, to Jan O'Malley-Dillon. They really did a fantastic job. But here's where I want to suggest changing things. And I do want to suggest 2 things to take from here. Usually this is the part where I say we need to make calls, we need to knock doors, but we need obviously to do more than that, because we just saw the best door knocking phone calling operation, I think it's pretty safe to say, in world history, and it wasn't enough. So we still need to do those things. Please, I'm not letting you off the hook for that. We're gonna try and run and gain my needs and make those calls, knocking those doors. But here's what I think that we can do short term. We can embrace the wisdom of the indivisible groups. In 2004, when George W. Bush was reelected, he spoke and he said, "I earned political capital and I intend to spend it." He intended to spend it then, he told us, on privatizing Social Security. And there was a woman in the House who said, "No, we are not going to privatize Social Security. We reject your political capital." And that woman, Nancy Pelosi, persevered and denied George W. Bush a victory at the pinnacle of his power. So victory is to come.
with the work of Indivisible, with the great organizing that Leah Greenberg and their whole team put together, they organized thousands of, if not tens of thousands of people going to town halls, such that Republicans got scared of hosting town halls, so that the Affordable Care Act survived by one vote when John McCain voted no on the repeal effort. So I suggest that we're gonna need to do that again. We're gonna need to do that again. We're gonna need, and I'm not calling out, you know, Senator Warner just put out a statement. I look forward to working with President Trump to getting a lot of things done. Well, Senator, I would suggest it depends on what those things are. And that we need to be prepared to fight like hell, because the danger of what Trump has done, stated, what the Washington Post has reported on, what his top aides have said, the danger here is not to be underestimated. Even if there's a scintilla in truth in all these different reports that's come out about this administration, we've got a massive fight on our hands. And the first thing we should do is not help the wannabe authoritarian make himself more popular. So I would suggest that's something to consider. And the last of my short-term items is, yes, we grab power wherever we can get it. Special elections, we see so often these seats, these races, these legislatures come down to one seat. And sometimes that seat's decided by one special election that's decided by less than 100 votes. So there's gonna be some special elections. I've got a special election coming up in Loudoun County for the Sumas. We need to help out there and help take that in. So that's another thing. So those are the short-term things you can do. And I do want to start to, my email always ends with a quote from Frederick Buechner, which is, find a place where your deep gladness meets the world's great hunger. So I'm not gonna ask any of you to really do something that you don't wanna do. I'm fine to say, do something that you wanna do. If you like making phone calls like me, come join me and Brian, and we're gonna call Loudoun County again. Yeah.
Fight a special Senate election.
Yes. JD Vance is gonna be giving his seat up, so we will focus on that too. So we're gonna go for power wherever we can find it. So that is a key thing. So definitely find things that you enjoy. So those are the short term. You know, resist the Trump agenda. Never obey an authoritarian in advance. That's the rule set out by some of these scholars in fascism. Part of their power comes from their perception of power. And the sooner we puncture that, we're not going to win every battle that we're engaged. But the more we fight on it, the more we defeat them, then that power begins to deflate. And that protects our most vulnerable among us, because we know what the agenda is of this awful incoming administration. So now let me leave you with the long term, because I've said, as much as I am a believer in door knocking, as much as I am a believer in calling, as much as I have, Sarah and I have opened our porch to postcards, all that stuff is not enough. That is not enough. We need to do the long-term stuff too. So the long-term stuff is this. Sarah Florence said this, and Sarah Langford said this. I'm sure there's other Sarahs in Arlington that said this. We need to build community. Loneliness breaks down trust. We need to build community. We need to be social. I was talking with, I was late to the meeting because I was on a Zoom with the PTA president, who was also a PTA treasurer, who's also a bus captain for one of the buses up in Pennsylvania. But she was talking about in her precinct, she's gonna start organizing gatherings of different like-minded folks to get together, build a sense of community, build a sense of trust. So we can nip that loneliness in the bud, we can have fun, we can have a sense of community, and just building trust, a sense of joy, a sense of purpose, and just a sense of like, we're not actually here to make phone calls, we're just gonna enjoy this great soda cake, this coffee, this food, this beer, this wine, whatever you have, building that sense of community is gonna be really important. That's something I would ask everyone to do. And I'm certainly, Sarah and I are gonna open our home up for well, we haven't talked about how much, but a fair amount to do this. Hey, Sarah's gonna white wine, everybody. But no, I'm seriously, like, I'm dead serious about this. Building community is really important. And the more we talk about it, the more it can be spread. And there's a scholarly work on this too. Eaton Hirsch has this book about politics is for power, and it talks about exactly this, about building power in communities and everything. And it starts just by building a sense of who are my neighbors. You know, and I've lived next to my neighbors for a year and a half in the apartment building. I finally introduced myself today and everything. So I thought, yeah, I need to actually go say hello and everything. So we need to build that sense of community right in front of us. That's something that I've been lacking on, and I think that's something that we can do. The next thing is building housing, and I want to shout out JD Spain for his great work in champion housing and everything. Because here's the thing, part of the reason people are upset is it costs so much money to buy a home. It costs so much to rent an apartment, and it's because there's not enough supply. And so then people live farther away, so then they're driving 2 hours, so then they don't feel like socializing anymore, so then they're lonely. So there's a connect the dots here, see the system. And so if we build more housing, we can lower prices, we can build more of a sensible community, we can have more walkable communities. So building housing is really key to this. And those decisions really should be made by our elected officials and not unelected judges, in my opinion. The other piece to this, because I really do think if you look all across the country, the price of housing is right there for millennials and youngers. The amount of money people are spending on housing is outrageous. It is really outrageous, and it shouldn't be that hard. And so the final thing then is that yes, we do need to build out our political party, our political power. We need state parties need to get better. We need to work on that. We need to implement best practices and making sure that we're taking advantage. First of all, doing the very first thing that any political party worth its salt does, which is recruit candidates for every single office on the ballot.
Right.
Yeah, that ain't time. And by the way, those candidates, they shouldn't all look like me. They need to have a diverse set of candidates that get up and run and everything. So. We need to work long term on building up our state parties, being monthly contributors to state parties, making sure we got leadership that's invested in best practices. Like we saw, like North Carolina, we weren't able to overcome the red wave, but you know who did? Josh Stein, the governor. You know who did? Their lieutenant governor, their attorney general. We won some big races in North Carolina. So I want to finish just with a quote from Ta-Nehisi Coates about the joy in the struggle, that there is joy in the struggle. America, if we're honest, has always been about a struggle. There's always that struggle right from before colonial times, right to the present. Struggle is part of who we are. But I think we're gonna have joy in it. I think we have community in it, and I think we can keep going and do that great work we can to make a better world. Thank you all for listening to me. Thank you all for being here.
Malinowski, everybody. We have a slideshow. We got about 15, 20 more minutes. I think this concludes our program, but please let's build that community starting right now. Meet some of your neighbors. If you're new, this is your first meeting, please introduce yourselves to the folks in the back of the room. Sarah Lanford here, Brent Jackson, Sarah Florence, Zach Lennon. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Join us again next month. We're going to keep this going.
Light of America's promise will always burn bright. It's something else will come. Loading it up. It's taking a minute to open.
And as long as we keep fighting, thank you.
Not really. You need anything, okay? All the things, we'll, There we go. Get them over. Desperate times. Yes. Oh, I got a new army. Good day.
Yeah.